Picture this. You sit down after a long day, open your phone just to check for a few minutes, and suddenly half an hour has disappeared. You scroll past vacation photos, career milestones, perfect family portraits, and instead of feeling inspired, you feel drained. Somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice asks, why does their life look so much better than mine? This isn't just your story. It's the reality for billions of people. Globally, the average person spends over 2 hours every single day on social media. 2 hours immersed in a highlight reel of other people's lives, carefully filtered and staged for maximum effect. 2 hours of subtle comparison, of feeling behind, of fearing you're missing out. And the result, for many men in their 30s and 40s, a creeping sense of inadequacy like success, fitness, happiness, and even family life erases they're somehow losing. But what if there was another way to live in this world of constant noise? What if you could step back from the endless cycle of scrolling and comparing, and instead anchor yourself in principles that make you stronger, calmer, and more focused? The ancient Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, wrestled with distractions of their own politics, power, public opinion. And yet their writings offer tools that are astonishingly relevant to the digital age. In the next 40 minutes, we're going to explore how Stoicism can help you break free from the comparison trap. I'll guide you through 5 Stoic-inspired questions, each one a stepping stone to clarity, resilience, and genuine self-respect. And I promise you this, the final question we'll uncover is one that could completely change how you see yourself in relation to the world. So, if you've ever closed an app feeling worse than when you opened it, if you've ever measured your worth against strangers online, then stay with me, because this isn't about abandoning technology. It's about reclaiming your mind, your time, and your life. Social media was never designed to be harmless entertainment, at least not in the way it functions today. What began as a way to connect with friends and share life updates has evolved into something far more invasive, an ecosystem engineered to capture attention, feed comparison, and keep us hooked for as long as possible. The numbers are staggering. Globally, more than 5.4 billion people now use social media, and the average user spends about 2 hours and 20 minutes a day scrolling. 2 hours may not sound like much until you realize it adds up to over 30 full days, a year, an entire month of your life absorbed by feeds that rarely leave you feeling better than before. And yet, this has become normal. Most of us don't even question it anymore. But beneath the surface lies something corrosive. Platforms are built on infinite scroll, variable rewards, and carefully curated highlights. Every swipe offers the chance of a dopamine hit. Someone liked your photo, someone commented on your post, and just as often, every swipe confronts you with another person's achievement, a promotion, a perfect vacation, a new car, a flawless body. The design itself pushes you into comparison, again and again, until it feels natural to measure your own life against the highlight reels of strangers. This is the trap. The more you compare, the more inadequate you feel. And the more inadequate you feel, the more you scroll, chasing the sense of belonging or reassurance that never comes. Psychologists call it the upward comparison effect. You look up at others' successes, and instead of being motivated, you feel smaller. Men in midlife are especially vulnerable here, at a stage where careers, families, and finances are under immense pressure. Social media becomes a daily reminder of everything you haven't achieved, or at least, everything you think you haven't achieved. Imagine a man in his late 30s, scrolling Instagram after work. He sees a college friend who just bought a bigger house, another who looks like he's in better shape than ever, a third who's on a family vacation in Italy. Alone in his living room, he feels the weight of silent comparison. Why not me? Am I falling behind? He doesn't realize that these snapshots are carefully curated moments, stripped of the struggles, debt, or insecurities that lie behind the camera. And yet, the effect is real. His self-worth drops, his stress rises, and his evening is clouded. This is not an isolated story. Studies consistently link heavy social media use with higher rates of anxiety, depression, and body dissatisfaction. For men, the pressure often centers around success and physical appearance. Platforms flood feeds with images of sculpted bodies, luxury lifestyles, and financial victories. And in the face of this relentless stream, even men who are objectively doing well can begin to feel like failures. It is worth pausing here to recognize that not all social media use is destructive. Used actively, sharing ideas, connecting meaningfully, engaging with real communities, it can boost connection and even happiness. But most of the time, our use is passive, endless scrolling, silent comparison, consuming without contributing. And it is this passive, unaffective use that corrodes the spirit. The Stoics would not be surprised. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know what they are talking about. In today's language, we could translate that: the likes, views, and curated images of millions are of little worth if they do not reflect reality. What matters is not how others appear, but how you live according to your own values. The tragedy of social media, that it pulls us outward, into the judgments and appearances of others, when what we need most is to turn inward, to cultivate strength of character and clarity of purpose. And this, precisely, is why Stoicism feels so urgently relevant. It reminds us that happiness cannot be outsourced to the approval of strangers. It cannot be found in comparison. It comes only from living with integrity, according to reason and virtue. So as we look at the crisis of social media today, the hours consumed, the self-worth eroded, the constant noise, the question is not whether the platforms will change. They are built to hold your attention. The question is whether you will change. Will you reclaim your time? Will you reclaim your mind? And most importantly, will you reclaim your sense of value from the endless cycle of comparison? In the next part of this journey, we will explore the Stoic foundations that can equip you to do exactly that. These principles are not abstract theories, but practical tools, time-tested disciplines that help you step back from the noise and return to what truly matters. Before we can confront the traps of social media directly, we need to ground ourselves in principles that are stronger than the pull of the feed. The Stoics believed philosophy was not a set of abstract ideas, but a way of training the mind to meet life's pressures with clarity. And what we face today, endless scrolling, fear of missing out, the weight of constant comparison, is not so different from the distractions that confronted men 2,000 years ago. The technology has changed, but human nature has not. The first foundation is what Epictetus called the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us, others are not. Your control does not extend to what others post, how many likes they receive, or what vacations they take. But it does extend to your own attention, your own choices, your own reaction. In the digital age, forgetting this truth is disastrous. Every time you feel envy while scrolling, you are silently trying to control what lies outside your reach. Stoicism pulls you back. Focus only on what belongs to you. The second foundation is temperance, the virtue of moderation. The Stoics did not preach withdrawal from life, but balance within it. Social media itself is not evil. The problem begins when you indulge without measure, losing yourself in endless scrolls that leave you more anxious than before. Temperance invites you to set boundaries, to decide when and how you will use these tools, rather than letting them decide for you. Imagine the difference between a man who scrolls without aim for an hour and a man who opens his phone with a purpose and a message. Learn one insight, connect with one friend, and then closes it. The first is a prisoner, the second is free. Third, the Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. They trained themselves to expect difficulties, so that when troubles arrived, they were not surprised but prepared. Applied to social media, this means reminding yourself before you open an app. I will see people flaunting wealth, beauty, and success. I will feel the pull of comparison, but I will not be shaken. By rehearsing the challenge in advance, you weaken its power over you. A fourth foundation is the exercise Marcus Aurelius called the view from above. He imagined himself rising above the earth, seeing human life from a vast perspective. From that height, the petty dramas and rivalries of daily life seem small, almost absurd. In the same way, when you step back from the endless feed, you see it for what it is, a collection of fleeting images, not the measure of your worth. From above, the envy fades. From above, the grip of comparison loosens. And finally, there is justice, the virtue of giving each their due. Justice in the Stoic sense means more than fairness in courts. It means living in such a way that you fulfill your obligations to others and to yourself. Ask yourself, what do you owe your spouse, your children, your work, your own mind? Surely not ours drained away in empty scrolling. Justice reminds you that your time is not just yours to waste. It belongs to those who depend on you. These 5 foundations: control, temperance, preparation, perspective, and justice form the scaffolding on which you can build a life free from the tyranny of comparison. They are not about deleting apps or retreating from modern life. They are about reclaiming your agency, remembering that you are not at the mercy of an algorithm unless you allow yourself to be. And this is where the journey deepens. Principles alone are not enough. To live stoically in the digital age, you must ask yourself hard questions that cut through the noise and force you to see clearly. In the next sections, we will walk through 5 Stoic-inspired questions, each designed to help you break the grip of social media and comparison. They begin simple, but they grow heavier. And I promise you, the last one may change how you see not only social media, but your entire life. The first Stoic question that cuts to the heart of social media is this: what do you truly control online? Most people never stop to ask. They open an app and are instantly swept into a flood of other people's lives, photos, headlines, opinions, arguments. They react, they compare, they envy, they defend. But step back for a moment. Which of these things actually belongs to you? Epictetus was blunt. Some things are up to us, and some are not. Up to us are our judgments, our choices, our actions. Not up to us are the actions of others, their opinions, their fame, their possessions. In the age of Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, this lesson could not be more urgent. You cannot control what someone else posts. You cannot control the likes they receive. You cannot control whether your friends appear happier or more successful than you. But you can control how long you stare at the screen. You can control whether you choose to unfollow an account that drags you into resentment. You can control whether you measure your life by another person's highlight reel or by your own values. Picture a common scene. A man in his late 30s sits down after work, opens his phone, and within seconds sees a former colleague celebrating a promotion. His chest tightens. He feels behind, inadequate, overlooked. For the next 30 minutes, he scrolls deeper, feeling the wound. But the truth is this: none of it was his to control. The promotion wasn't his to give or receive. The image wasn't his to curate. The likes weren't his to tally. What was his? The choice to close the app. The choice to remind himself of his own path. The choice to replace comparison with focus. This is the tragedy of forgetting the Stoic dichotomy. We burn energy on what lies outside our reach, and in the process neglect what lies within it. Instead of governing our attention, we let algorithms govern us. Instead of mastering our reactions, we let envy and frustration run unchecked. And in the end, we wonder why we feel powerless. Now imagine applying Stoic discipline in the same scenario. The man feels the pang of comparison, but he pauses. He tells himself, "This is not mine. What is mine is my response. He breathes, he closes the app, he turns to his journal, his family, or even just a quiet walk. Instantly, the power shifts. The promotion still exists, the colleague is still celebrated, but the man is no longer enslaved by it. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your online experience is spent chasing what is not yours? How many times have you replayed someone else's success in your mind, as if worrying about it could change anything? How many evenings have been consumed not by your life, but by the illusions of others? The Stoic challenge is not to deny these feelings, but to reframe them. The next time you feel envy rise, use it as a cue. Am I trying to control what is not mine? The moment you shift focus back to what belongs to you, your actions, your integrity, your presence, you step out of the trap. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Social media magnifies outside events until they feel like the measure of your worth. But they are not. Your worth lies in how you live, not in what others display. So the first Stoic question stands before you. What do you truly control online? If the answer is only yourself, then let that be enough. Master that, and you will already have more peace than most who scroll endlessly, hoping to master what can never be theirs. The second Stoic question is both simple and uncomfortable. How do you respond when comparison strikes? Social media thrives on comparison. Every scroll sets the stage. Someone has more money, more success, more admiration. Someone looks stronger, younger, happier, and almost automatically, your mind reacts. But pause and ask, what is your typical response? Do you sulk? Do you spiral into envy? Do you dismiss the other person with bitterness? Or do you step back, breathe, and turn the moment into fuel? Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Comparison feeds craving. It convinces you that your life is inadequate until you measure up to someone else's highlight reel. And once you believe that, poverty of the mind sets in no matter your actual circumstances. Let's picture a man scrolling through LinkedIn. He sees a former classmate announcing a major career breakthrough. Instantly, the voice inside whispers, "He's doing better than me. I should be further along." One response is to sink into self-pity, to replay the thought all night. Another is to lash out, dismissing the achievement. He probably got lucky, or cheated the system. Both responses are traps. The first drains confidence, the second breeds resentment. Neither makes you stronger. The Stoic path offers a third way. Recognize the comparison for what it is, a judgment, not a fact. The success of another does not diminish your own. Their path is not your path. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, do not waste the remainder of your life worrying about others unless it has some bearing on the common good. Applied here, another man's success is not your business. Your business is your response. Now, imagine choosing that response differently. You see the colleague's promotion. The pang of comparison hits. But instead of indulging envy, you redirect it. What can I learn from this? What action can I take today to improve my own work? The comparison becomes fuel for growth rather than poison. It's important to acknowledge, you may never eliminate the feeling itself. Comparison is wired into human psychology, but Stoicism teaches that feelings are not final. They are impressions, automatic, fleeting. What matters is how you respond. Do you let the first spark ignite a fire of resentment, or do you let it fade, choosing instead to act with reason? This is where the middle-aged man, seasoned by life, has an advantage. You've seen enough to know that appearances deceive. That smiling family photo may hide deep conflict. That promotion may carry crushing stress. That perfect body may come at the cost of obsession. When you recall this, comparison loses its bite. You realize that chasing another person's life is like chasing a mirage. Ask yourself, the last time you felt envy online, what did you do with it? Did you stew in it? Or did you use it as a mirror to check your own values? Because every moment of comparison is a fork in the road. You can either become smaller through resentment or stronger through discipline. Epictetus advised his students, if someone is better than you at playing the lyre, that is no shame, unless it is your profession to play the lyre. The same is true online. If another man is wealthier, fitter, more admired, that is no shame, unless your own values are built entirely on beating him. And if that is the case, the problem is not him. The problem is where you've placed your worth. So let the Stoic question echo. How do you respond to comparison? Because your response determines whether social media remains a source of anxiety or becomes a training ground for resilience. The choice, as always, is yours. The third Stoic question pierces deeper. Are you truly present when you scroll? Think about the last time you opened an app without intention. Maybe you were waiting in line, sitting on the couch, or even standing in the kitchen. You told yourself it would be just a quick check. 10 minutes later, you had no idea what you had seen, only that your mood was heavier and your focus gone. You were there, phone in hand, but not truly present in your surroundings, in your thoughts, or in your own life. This absence is the hidden cost of social media. It doesn't only steal time, it steals presence. When your eyes are on the feed, your mind is elsewhere. You miss the warmth of a conversation happening next to you, the subtle beauty of the world around you, even the chance to reflect quietly. In short, you are alive, but not awake. Epictetus warned his students, you become what you give your attention to, if that attention is consumed by endless reels, curated photos, and arguments with strangers. What are you becoming? Not a man of depth, not a man of calm, but a man fragmented, distracted, pulled in 100 directions by forces that don't care about his well-being. Consider the father who spends his evenings half absorbed in his phone, while his children play nearby. He tells himself he is relaxing, catching up on the world. But years later, his children will not remember what he read on Twitter or who posted a vacation photo. They will remember only the look on his face, half engaged, eyes down, elsewhere. To them, the lesson will be clear: screens were more important than presence. The Stoics remind us that life is lived only in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, confine yourself to the present, not the past, which cannot be changed, not the future, which cannot be grasped, and certainly not the endless highlight reels of strangers. The present is where your power lies, your chance to act, to notice, to connect, to live. So the question presses on you, are you truly present when you scroll? If the answer is no, then each swipe is a small theft, not just of time, but of life. The solution is not to abandon technology, but to reclaim attention with discipline. Before you open an app, ask, why am I here? What do I seek? If you cannot answer, close it. If you can answer, set a clear boundary: 5 minutes to send a message, 10 minutes to post an update, and then leave. Better yet, replace one scrolling session a day with a deliberate act of presence, a walk without headphones, a meal enjoyed without distraction, a moment of silence with family. Because in the end, presence is not about what you avoid, but what you embrace. It is choosing to live awake, rather than half asleep in someone else's story. So let this Stoic question stay with you the next time your thumb hovers over the screen. Ask yourself, am I truly present? Or am I surrendering the only life I have to an endless scroll? The fourth Stoic question is sharper than the rest. Are you living with justice and fulfilling your duties? When we think of justice, most of us picture laws and courtrooms. But to the Stoics, justice was much broader. It meant giving each person and each part of life what was rightly theirs. It meant fairness not only in society, but in relationships, in family, and even in how we used our time. Ask yourself, when you spend hours scrolling through the lives of strangers, are you being just? To your family, who deserve your attention? To your work, which deserves your focus? To your own mind, which deserves peace instead of constant distraction? Justice is not an abstract virtue here. It is the very measure of whether you are living fairly with those who depend on you and with yourself. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that every hour wasted was stolen not just from him, but from the duty he owed to others. You could be good today, he wrote, but instead you choose tomorrow. How many times have we said the same thing about our presence with loved ones? Tomorrow I'll put the phone down. Tomorrow I'll be more attentive. Tomorrow I'll be fully here. But tomorrow never comes, because today was already lost. Picture this. A husband comes home after work, exhausted. He means to rest for just a few minutes online. One video leads to another, one feed to the next, and now disappears. Meanwhile, his children wait for him to notice them. His wife wonders why his mind seems distant. He tells himself he deserves the break, and perhaps he does. But is it just? Is it fair to those who rely on him to exchange their presence for the fleeting stimulation of strangers' lives? Seneca warned against this theft of time. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Social media amplifies that waste, turning small distractions into hours lost. And when those hours are taken from our families, our responsibilities, and our own growth, injustice is committed not in a court of law, but in the silent courtroom of our conscience. Justice also applies inwardly. Are you being fair to yourself when you allow comparison to corrode your self-respect? Are you giving your mind what it truly needs: clarity, purpose, discipline, or are you feeding it the empty calories of endless scrolling? To live with justice is to honor your own potential, to treat yourself as someone worthy of more than distraction. This is where Stoicism demands honesty. It is easy to say you love your family, that you value your work, that you want peace of mind. But your actions reveal the truth. If hours vanish online while relationships and duties stall, then words mean little. Justice requires alignment. What you say you value must match what you do. So ask yourself with courage, am I living justly with my time, my attention, my family, and myself? If the answer is no, then the path is clear. Begin today. Put boundaries around the distractions. Reclaim hours for what matters, not because you feel guilty, but because justice demands it. The Stoics knew that justice was not optional. It was the foundation of a life well lived. And in our age, justice may look like something as simple and as difficult as choosing real presence over virtual noise. The fifth and final Stoic question is the hardest of all. Do you love your fate in the digital age? It's one thing to accept your life as it is. It's another to love it, to embrace it fully, with all its imperfections. This is the challenge of Amor Fati, to not merely endure what fate has given you, but to cherish it as if you had chosen it yourself. On social media, fate often looks unkind. You open an app and see lives that appear more glamorous, more accomplished, more fulfilled. The temptation is to resent your own lot, to wish you had someone else's body, career, or bank account. But this is poison. The moment you wish for another man's fate, you abandon your own. Marcus Aurelius, a man who lost children, faced betrayal, and carried the crushing burden of empire, still urged himself daily, love only that which happens, which is spun with the thread of your destiny. He did not say tolerate or survive. He said love. Why? Because your fate, with all its hardships, is the training ground for your soul. In the digital age, loving your fate means refusing to measure it against illusions. The perfect vacation photo hides the debt behind it. The muscular physique hides the insecurity that drives it. The glamorous career hides the loneliness at its core. Amor Fati frees you from envy by reminding you, you don't need their fate, because it was never meant to be yours. You need only to love the one given to you. Imagine a man in his 40s scrolling Instagram late at night. He sees peers living abroad, driving expensive cars, posting pictures of perfect families. A heaviness settles in his chest. I missed my chance. My life is small. But then he recalls Amor Fati. He remembers that his path includes struggles, sacrifices, and quiet victories that will never make a highlight reel. He has children who know his laugh. He has work that, while unspectacular, sustains his family. He has scars that have shaped his strength. Suddenly, his life does not feel small, it feels uniquely his. And for the first time, he feels gratitude, not envy. Loving your fate doesn't mean ignoring hardship. It means reframing it. When you face boredom, you see an invitation to patience. When you face disappointment, you see training in resilience. When you face imperfection, you see the texture of a real human life. Amor Fati transforms even flaws into teachers. This principle is radical because it dismantles the very engine of social media comparison. Platforms thrive on dissatisfaction, on your belief that your life is lacking, that you need more, that someone else has what you don't. Amor Fati short-circuits this by saying, I already have what I need. My life, as it is enough. Of course, this does not mean passivity. Stoics were not fatalists. Loving your fate does not mean refusing to act. It means acting with acceptance rather than resentment. You still pursue growth, but without bitterness toward your current circumstances. You still build your future, but you do not despise your present. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you looked at your own life, the ordinary rhythms, the messy imperfections, and felt love for it? Not tolerance, not resignation, but love. Amor Fati asks you to do exactly that, because until you love your own fate, you will always be vulnerable to the illusion of someone else's. And here is the paradox. When you finally embrace your fate, comparison loses its grip. You no longer scroll with envy, because you no longer wish to trade places. You scroll with perspective, sometimes even with compassion, knowing that behind every curated image lies a fate with its own hidden struggles. So let this fifth Stoic question linger in your mind. Do you love your fate in the digital age? Because the answer determines not just how you use social media, but how you live your life. If you can say yes, even imperfectly, then the endless feed loses its power. And in that freedom, you discover something rare. Peace not from having a better life than others, but from finally loving the one that is yours. Philosophy means nothing if it never reaches your habits. The Stoics never wrote for amusement, they wrote for a transformation. And if social media has become the background noise of your life, if comparison has dug its claws into your self-worth, then you need more than reflection. You need practice. So let's imagine, for the next 30 days, you are entering a workshop not of wood or stone, but of your own mind. Each week is a layer, building discipline until the comparison trap begins to loosen its hold. The first week is about clarity. Each evening, you pause and write down one moment of comparison you felt that day. Maybe it was a colleague's post about success, or a friend's picture of a new car, or even a stranger's display of beauty. Then you divide it into 2 columns. What was in your control, and what was not? You will notice a pattern. Almost everything that triggers envy lies outside your control. And yet, every single time, your response lies within it. By the end of 7 days, you begin to see how often you hand your peace over to things you could never change. This awareness is your first act of freedom. The second week is about preparation. Each morning, before you open an app, you rehearse what you may encounter. You remind yourself, I will see success flaunted. I will see curated beauty. I will feel the sting of comparison, but I will not be surprised. This is the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, premeditating adversity. The point is not pessimism, it is armor. When the trigger arrives, you greet it like an old acquaintance, and you remember, you already trained for this moment. The third week focuses on justice. Here, you step back and ask, am I living fairly with my time, my duties, my family? To answer honestly, you start keeping a quiet record of your hours. How long did you spend online today? How much of that time served your values? How much was stolen from your work, your relationships, your own rest? By the end of this week, you hold a mirror to your life. If you see imbalance, you correct it not because you feel guilty, but because justice demands it. The final week is about conversation not with social media, but with the people who matter. Twice this week, you set aside your phone, sit down with a partner, a child, or a friend, and you practice presence. You listen without distraction. You speak without rushing. You share without the urge to capture it for others to see. These 30 minutes of undivided attention become your rebellion against the culture of constant comparison. They are also your return to what Stoicism always emphasized. That philosophy is not lived in isolation, but in community, in justice, in love. By the end of 30 days, you will not be perfect. The temptation to scroll will remain. The pang of comparison will still rise now and then, but you will be stronger. You will have built habits of awareness, preparation, justice, and presence. And with these habits, the grip of social media begins to loosen. You are no longer dragged blindly into envy. You meet it with discipline. You are no longer at the mercy of algorithms. You reclaim your time for what truly matters. This is the gift of practice, not a promise of ease, but a path to strength. And if you can commit to 30 days, you will find that the comparison trap no longer feels like a prison. It feels like a challenge you know how to meet calmly, wisely, stoically. We began with a simple truth. Social media is not harmless background noise. It is a system designed to capture your attention, to feed you comparison, and to leave you craving more. And many men today, especially in midlife, feel its weight. Hours lost, moods darkened, confidence chipped away. A quiet theft, repeated every day. But through the lens of Stoicism, we have seen another way. By asking the right questions, we break the illusion. What do you truly control online? Only yourself. How do you respond to comparison? With discipline, not envy. Are you present when you scroll? Or are you absent from your own life? Are you living with justice, giving your time fairly to your family, your work, your mind? And most of all, do you love your own fate, rather than wishing for the fate of another? Each question is a doorway back to freedom. Each answer draws you closer to a life lived awake, not half asleep in the glow of a screen. And when you add practice a 30-day plan of awareness, preparation, fairness, and presence, you begin to reclaim what social media has stolen. Your attention, your peace, your dignity. Remember, the Stoics did not promise comfort. They promised strength. They taught that freedom is not found in the applause of others, nor in the highlight reels of strangers, but in mastery of your own mind. That truth is just as urgent now as it was 2,000 years ago. So I leave you with this. You don't need to abandon technology. You don't need to envy the lives of others. You need only to live your own life fully, courageously, lovingly. Amor Fati, love your fate, because your fate, with all its imperfections, is enough. If you found value in these reflections, I invite you to continue this journey. Subscribe to StoicCraft, where we bring ancient wisdom into modern struggles. Share your thoughts, leave a comment, and join a community of people who are choosing discipline over distraction, presence over comparison, resilience over envy. Your time is precious. Guard it well. Your mind is yours. Master it. And your life your one and only life is waiting to be lived, not scrolled away.